Is it the person who has the idea or the one who makes the world believe in it? This is Parallel Minds, a podcast inspired by parallel lives where we explore two lives at a time, not to crown a winner, but to understand the forces that shape them. What does it mean to invent the future? Not just to build new things, but to reshape the story of what's possible. Throughout history, a handful of figures have done more than create technology. They've created myths. They've made us believe that one person, one mind, one relentless will can bend the arc of civilization. Today we're looking at two of those figures, Thomas Edison and Elon Musk. One gave us the light bulb, or so the story goes. The other is giving us electric cars, rockets, and a nervous system for the internet. But beneath the inventions, there's something stranger and more interesting going on. There's a pattern, a template, a way that certain men get to play the role of the future builder, and what that role costs the rest of us. This is Parallel Minds, Myth, Power, and the Men Who Build It. Every myth needs an origin. For Thomas Edison, the story begins in Milan, Ohio, 1847. He was the youngest of 7 children. As a boy, he was pulled out of school after only a few months. His teacher called him addled. His mother, furious, decided to teach him herself. Edison later said she made him who he was. By 12, he was selling newspapers and candy on trains. By 15, he'd saved a station master's son from an oncoming train and was rewarded with lessons in telegraphy. He taught himself chemistry from books. He failed constantly. He kept going. This is the Edison story as it's usually told, the self-made American genius, the boy who didn't fit the system and beat it anyway. Hard work plus raw intelligence plus a refusal to quit. Now meet Elon Musk. Born in Pretoria, South Africa, 1971. His father was an engineer and property developer. His mother, a model and dietitian. He was a bookish, awkward kid who got bullied badly. He escaped into science fiction and computers. At 12, he sold his first video game, a space shooter called Blastar, for $500. At 17, he left South Africa, partly to avoid mandatory military service in the apartheid regime, and made his way to Canada, then to the United States. He enrolled at Penn, studied economics and physics, got into a Stanford PhD program, and dropped out after 2 days to start a company. The stories rhyme, don't they? Outsider, prodigy, dropout, builder. Both men are framed as people who couldn't be contained by ordinary institutions. Both are celebrated for making their own rules. But here's what the origin stories leave out. Edison didn't work alone. He built the world's first industrial research laboratory in Menlo Park, New Jersey. He had a staff of dozens, machinists, chemists, mathematicians. The inventions that came out of Menlo Park were collaborative. Edison was the director, the promoter, the brand, but the work was done by a team that history mostly forgot. And Musk was born into relative privilege in apartheid South Africa, left before his military service, arrived in North America with family connections and enough capital to get started. The first company he co-founded, Zip2, was partly funded by his father. He has said his father contributed a small amount. Others dispute exactly how much. Either way, he wasn't starting from nothing. None of this makes what either man achieved less real. Edison's laboratory model genuinely transformed how innovation worked. Musk's companies have pushed the boundaries of what private industry can do in aerospace and energy. But the myth, the lone genius myth, erases the people, the privilege, and the infrastructure that made the genius possible. Here's something that doesn't get said enough about Thomas Edison. He was, above all, a systems thinker. Yes, he improved the incandescent light bulb, but his real invention was the electrical system, the generator, the distribution network, the metering system, the infrastructure that made it possible to sell electricity to homes and businesses at scale. Edison understood that a light bulb was useless without a way to power it, so he built the power stations. He laid the cables under the streets of Lower Manhattan. In 1882, he flipped a switch and lit up a square mile of New York City. This is a vision of entrepreneurship that we don't romanticize enough. Not just inventing the thing, but building the entire ecosystem that makes the thing work. Elon Musk has done something structurally similar, and I think this is genuinely underappreciated. Tesla didn't just make electric cars, it built a charging network. It developed battery technology. It created a software ecosystem that treats the car as a platform. SpaceX didn't just build rockets, it rebuilt the economics of rocketry, brought launch costs down by an order of magnitude, and developed reusable boosters that changed what's possible. Both men saw the system, not just the product. Both men were willing to build the infrastructure, not just the thing that runs on it. But here's where the comparison gets complicated. Edison fought dirty. When Nikola Tesla and George Westinghouse promoted alternating current, a system that was in many ways superior to Edison's direct current, Edison launched a vicious PR campaign against them. He publicly electrocuted animals to demonstrate that AC was dangerous. He lobbied against AC adoption. He did everything he could to protect his system, even when the evidence suggested his system was worse. History remembers this as the War of Currents, and history's verdict is clear. AC won. Westinghouse and Tesla were right. Edison was wrong, and he knew it eventually. With Musk, we see a different but related pattern. He is extraordinarily effective at shaping narrative. He uses Twitter, now X, which he owns, as a tool for managing his reputation, attacking critics, and setting the terms of public debate. He has fought unionization efforts at Tesla. He has clashed with regulators. He has made promises about product timelines that consistently don't materialize and faced relatively few consequences for it. The question isn't whether these men were geniuses. They were, in their way. The question is, what do we lose when we celebrate the genius so completely that we stop examining the methods? Thomas Edison understood something that most inventors of his era didn't. The story matters as much as the invention. He courted journalists. He gave interviews. He staged demonstrations. The Wizard of Menlo Park was a character he played carefully and deliberately. When he invented the phonograph, he took it to Washington to demonstrate it for members of Congress. He knew that perception shaped investment, and investment shaped what got built. Elon Musk is in many ways Edison's natural successor in this regard, but the media landscape has changed completely. Musk doesn't just give interviews. He is the media. His posts reach hundreds of millions of people directly. He has used that platform to move markets, to mock short sellers, to announce products, to pick fights, and to build a persona that is simultaneously the brilliant engineer, the irreverent troll, and the messianic visionary. It's a remarkable performance, and like Edison's performance, it has real costs. For Edison, the cost was the people he buried. Nikola Tesla, who worked for Edison and was stiffed on promised bonuses, went to his grave in poverty. The workers at Menlo Park who contributed to the inventions were rarely credited. The business tactics Edison used to protect his patents became a template for IP warfare that still distorts innovation today. For Musk, the costs are still unfolding. Workers at his companies have described intense, often brutal working conditions. His interventions in global politics, through his control of Starlink satellite internet, through his influence on social media, raise questions about the power that accumulates when one person controls critical infrastructure. And yet, the rockets are real. The electric cars are real. The satellite internet reaching remote communities is real. The reduction in launch costs that has opened space to a new generation of companies is real. This is the genuine difficulty with figures like Edison and Musk. They are not straightforwardly heroes or villains. They are something more complicated. People who built real things in ways that created real harm, using myths that made both the building and the harm possible. So what do we do with this? I think the first thing we do is retire the lone genius myth. Not because the individuals don't matter, they clearly do, but because the myth systematically erases everyone else. The colleagues, the workers, the people whose labor and ideas fed the machine. History is not made by lone individuals. It is made by networks, institutions, and conditions that certain individuals are positioned to take advantage of. The second thing we do is ask harder questions about power. When one person controls the infrastructure of electricity or rockets or global communications, what oversight exists? What recourse do the rest of us have? The romantic story of the builder doesn't ask these questions, but we should. And the third thing, maybe the hardest thing, is to hold complexity, to say, yes, this person built something real and valuable, and yes, the way they built it caused harm, and yes, the story we tell about them shapes what we think is possible and who we think gets to build the future. Edison lit up Manhattan. He also fought to kill a better system because it threatened his. Musk put reusable rockets in orbit. He also acquired one of the world's most important communications platforms and has used it in ways that are still being understood to shape global politics. Both things are true. They always were. The future gets built by people. Complicated, brilliant, flawed, powerful people. And the story we tell about them is itself a kind of invention, one that deserves just as much scrutiny as the light bulb or the electric car or the rocket pointed at the stars. Thanks for listening to Inventing the Future. If this episode made you think, share it with someone who'd push back on it. That's the only way any of us get smarter.